Hey guys, welcome back to Storytime, Cup of Joe. Today we're doing part 7. If you aren't caught up yet, don't worry, it's easy to get caught up. There's going to be links to every previous episode in the description of this video. If you like what you see, click subscribe, click that little bitty gray bell so you get the notifications, and then tell everyone you've ever met so I can improve my production values. Anyways, let's get started. We are reading, spoiler alert, Cup of Joe, Part 7. So, what does one do once they figure out how to do anything in this state? I said to her, with no veil to my lack of understanding this whole process. Honestly, she replied, a thoughtful tone trotting across her words. I really haven't ever bothered to ask. I never really wondered too much. I haven't actually met a lot of new muses. She had looked away for just a moment from her canvas. Not at me. She still only barely registered me as far as I could tell. But just sort of away. Off and away. Like she was rattling around what she might do in my shoes. I wonder if I would still be able to paint. This time she actually did look at me for a moment. I wouldn't have noticed, but I just so happened to be looking at a painting hung on the wall near her. 2 demons aloft. It was interesting. I guess. I've never really been too into the visual arts. I like a pretty painting or a picture. Everyone does. It just wasn't something I'd really explored much of. Huh. Oh, sorry. Well, as that goes, Davis told me something that I'm kind of bouncing around a bit now. I replied, looking back to her after a moment of my own sort of wandering thoughts. He said that basically, as a muse, I can do whatever I used to, as long as I'm in someone, whatever that means. It seems like we possess people. I started to glance around again, looking for a way to put all of this. I didn't really want to start delving into words like possession, but I really couldn't think of a better way to put what I had seen Davis do back at the coffee shop. Okay, she said, looking back to her painting for a moment and then down to her hands. Her eyes were still curious. They asked more questions, I would say, than she did, actually. Little multicolor orbs of wonderment. She almost had a childlike gaze, though she was certainly in her early 40s. So, basically, you possess an artist, and then live through them, she said as she looked up from her hands at me excitedly. This chick was weird, that was fair to say. But suddenly, feeling like I knew something was a refreshing twist on the day I had been having. I smiled, nodded not at all hesitantly. I think that's the basic gist of it. From what I gathered, that's basically all we can do. I still didn't even have a clue the extent to which we could possess a person was. I really didn't have much of a place even speaking on the matter, given that I myself had never actually tried the whole bit. Again, though, and I cannot stress this enough, should you ever find yourself in my shoes, fucking grab every chance you have to feel like you get it, because you won't, and you will notice that shit every few minutes. I've never actually tried it. This all came secondhand, I said regretfully. I wanted to play it up like I was cool. For what reason, I haven't got the foggiest fucking clue. However, I got the notion that if she had known as many of us as she had, then she would be able to tell I was a rookie. Then again, maybe she hasn't been all that curious up until now. She didn't seem to know what we actually do. Well, I guess if it's still as fresh as it all seems, you don't seem to know you couldn't interact with objects, then I'm not too surprised you haven't made the leap yet, so to speak. Her voice was both understanding and mocking all at once. I didn't really know what to make of this very strange woman. I couldn't decide whether I liked her or hated her. In any case, she had my kind of sense of humor, which was something I had rarely found while I was alive. Sure, you could make fun of the recently deceased, or you could paint. Why don't we work a bit on the latter? I said, making no effort to hide my frustration with the setting at hand. I did mention that I liked her sense of humor, but I failed to mention that at this particular interval it was certainly vexing. Well, what do you want me to do? It's not like I can give you an instruction booklet. Even if I had one, you couldn't actually touch it, so yeah, I'll make fun of the recently deceased. I don't know if you've really looked around the shop, but it isn't like I have a ton of other shit going on. She was very casual about all of this strange and befuddling business. I mean, it was strange and befuddling for me, but it seemed like everyone else had a fairly reasoned grasp on the situation. For better or worse, it was becoming clear that if I wanted any kind of real answers, they would have to come on their own, and in their own time. God damn it. I hate waiting. So, are you just going to hang around here all day? Maybe you could figure out how to muse back at that coffee shop Davis likes so much? I mean, there's got to be at least one desperate writer over there, right? She had turned now back to her painting and was no longer paying any attention to me. I don't know what I would have expected. She was clearly a woman with purpose. Even if that purpose was to smear the same color blue all over a canvas. I mean, maybe it's just my untrained eye, but seriously, lady, just throw some fucking yellow in there or something. What do I know? Maybe the finished product will look good. Heaven knows. Ha. Funny saying that is now. Anyways, heaven knows how bad most of my rough drafts look to my editors. What? Don't you like my bubbly personality around your shop? I could be good for business, I said, knowing full well she was the only person who was likely to be in here at any point who I could actually communicate with. I didn't used to care so much about having someone to talk to, but now, having such limited options, it seems like something I was missing out on. Oh yeah, sure. You could just float and distract me with half-baked story ideas all day, and I'm certain that wouldn't get old fast. Yeah, I think even if she had tried to hide that sarcasm, which I might add she did not, it would have been pretty clear. Look, you're welcome to come in from time to time, hang out, take in the art, blah, blah, blah. I think, though, we both know there are more important things we could be doing with this time, she said, casually brushing at her canvas in a way that seemed very little like it was actually changing the painting at all. She did things slowly, methodically, but it seemed out of place for her. I got the feeling she hadn't always been so patient and careful. Like this was a learned trait that she didn't never really get 100% down. I'm no one to judge, though. There might be a place for all of my random shit. Well, there was anyways. When I had random shit. The desk was always a mess, though. Total chaos, erupting from every corner and surface. She was right, though. I couldn't deny that on my best day. I did need to get to work. And I needed to let her get to work. She was clearly driven, and I was clearly just a passenger at the moment in my story. Yeah, actually, I said. I think I am going to head out of here and see what I can figure out. Who knows? Maybe I'll find a body to use to write up some instructions for the next guy. I laughed as I turned to make my way back to the door. I wasn't going to bother with whether it was open or not. I don't know why I had in the first place. Thanks for, well, now that I think about it, all you really did was make fun of me. I was a little confused at this point. I felt like she had been helpful, but for the life of me couldn't think of one really helpful thing that had happened here. Yeah, well, a laugh can be the kickstart you need, and I was in need of a kickstart when a laugh walked through my door. She turned at me, gave a wink, and went right back to her painting. Damn, she was a prickly one. But like I said, I liked her sense of humor. I think I'll be back to the place. If nothing else, then for the barbs. I chuckled at her last remark and made my way right through the closed door and back onto the city streets. The emergency crews had begun to clear away and the scene was calming down. It wasn't quite as tough to see it as it was when everything was still just screams and terror. I mean, the realization that it was the cleaned up scene of my death was still a little troubling. At the end of the day, though, what's not a cleaned up scene of someone's death? I set my eyes back to the coffee shop I had stumbled from. There certainly was going to be a desperate writer around thereabouts somewhere. Might as well go see what I can do. Maybe I'll just tell this story. This is actually kind of an interesting little sci-fi fantasy kind of thing that's going on. That is Cup of Joe Part 7. I hope very much that you enjoyed it. If you did, subscribe and click the little bell, like I said in the beginning of the video. But otherwise, I hope whatever time of day it is that you see this is wonderful for you. And until I see you again, take care, everybody.